How are you guys doing? My name is Shi, and I wanted to talk about the strengthenings that happened this 10th anniversary. Specifically, I want to talk about the assassin ones, because this is more interesting, and you guys know why. It's more interesting. So before I started, if you're new on the channel, my name is Shi. Sometimes I make animations. It's been a while, but I want to go back to make animations and make live streams. But if you don't like, subscribe and sit down and let's talk a little bit about what's going on in FGO right now. So after the 10th anniversary, there are those all strengthenings that usually happens in anniversary events. And this time are 3 assassins that got the strengthenings, and there's an interesting difference between them, and I want to address them. First, I want to start with Jack the Ripper, which is a servant from right at the beginning of the game, but I think it was introduced in London chapter. And besides NP upgrade, it didn't really have much going on for her until now. Let's talk about first the old version of the skill: 1 turn dodge and 1 turn 50% quick, which is really outdated. This really sounds like a year 1 skill as it should. So when they actually made a strengthening to her, I was curious what it's gonna be. And here it is. The evasion is still 1 turn. The quick now is 3 turns, and now she gives 20% NP damage and 30% NP charge. I gotta say, I think this is a bit underwhelming, and let me tell you why. The stats are good. 3 turns, 50% quick. This is kind of big. It's like almost a second Scotty. Okita Soji got a similar buff as well. But even though there is the 3 turns quick, 20% NP for 3 turns as well, I think it's just stats bonus, and Jack was already super strong. The quick cards were good, the NP gain from the quick cards were good. I mean, sure, enhancing the performance by 50% is quite a big thing, but at the same time, I don't think it changes much of what she did. Because in the current environment, that if you have Jack and Kama, you'll probably use Kama. Because Kama stuns, Kama has a bigger NP charge, Kama has guts. Jack would shine more against females because of the Noble Phantasm, giving the big chunk of extra damage versus females. And with this, it just increased a little bit of the efficiency of that. I don't think it changed her too much. So, I don't know. It's a decent buff if you like Jack, it's interesting, but at the same time, they could do better, you know? They could do better, in my opinion. Especially when you look at the other skills, they're kind of lame. Especially, look at this 3rd skill. The cooldown is low, which is fine, but anyway, let's move on to talk to the servant that I actually wanted to talk. You thought it was Matahari? No, actually I want to talk about Sanson, because this is a tragic thing. Sanson, his skills are kinda bad. His first skill is okay-ish, because it gives 60% more damage versus evil servants. No, versus the evil enemies for 3 turns. This is kind of big because when you analyze what are the enemy, what are the evil enemies, it's kind of big, you know? The list is kind of big. So as you would expect in a game like the evil or the enemies, that's a lot. So it's fine. There's nothing bad here. The problem is the other skills. There's skills. It's just a healing skill again, just like Jack, but then got a buff to remove the debuffs, which is nice. But you know, there's still nothing much going on here. And then the 3rd skill. My problem is this skill that got buffed. This got buffed, but let's talk first of the old version. 60% more damage versus humans. We still need to understand what does more damage versus humans means. The list of humans is extremely small. Like, it's because there's a different concept going on in the game that confuses us. Makes us realize, wait, aren't there more humans? Aren't servants considered humans? No, that's the thing. Humans are like those useless pirates and small mobs that we just trample them through the story. We didn't stop to think about them, and that's the problem. When you're only strong against those enemies, it's kind of sad. Sure, you can find some unique enemies here, like Olympian soldiers, and even bosses like Iskali and Ishtar, that they are considered still humans. But try to think of how many enemies are in the game. Like, you're telling me you have 60% more damage for 3 turns versus only them? The pool is too small. It's really not worth it. So I really didn't like this is how Sanson worked. So what they did, they buffed this skill. What they did, they doubled down on the focus on humans. I think this is just so sad. But okay, like, there is the 20% NP charge, which is it's kind of low, and then the 30% NP damage, which is okay because you see Sanson has a decent noble phantasm, so I guess it would increase the damage. But they're focused on more damage versus humans, more chances of causing insta kill to humans. They double down the focus on this ultra specific niche. I don't know. I feel like it's such a waste. What I think is, in the best case scenario, think this is like the most optimistic best case scenario. Maybe in the summer event of this year in JP, maybe the 90++ will be filled with humans, and then for Sanson to shine. It's possible, but even so, let's assume the summer event will be a moment for him to shine. I still think after the event he'll be back to not having too much focus on anything, sadly. Like, I wanted Sanson to, instead of focus on humans, to change this. Because there are some focus, for example, let me show you. Okay, now let me show you what I want them to do. Look at his Okada Izo, which is a limited 3-star servant, so that must be it. His skills are focused on humanoids. Who are the humanoids of this game? A huge chunk of enemies are considered humanoids. And not only that, all servants have humanoid trait except those. So we have like 400+ servants that are humanoids, and then this huge chunk of enemies. So you can know for absolute sure that this skill will be effective in a lot of moments, especially versus bosses, will be really effective. This is good. Now human, the pool is so little. It could even expand. I mean, if they didn't want to expand to humanoids, they could expand even to living humans, which is servants as well. They are a subtype of humans that are kind of a convoluted way to bring masters from the visual novels, the anime, manga series to the game as servants. So they're sometimes called living humans. They could be that as well, but no, they stick with humans, which made his skills kind of underwhelming. The pool so low. And even now with his upgraded skill, it double downs. But yeah, it's kind of sad. It is what it is. We can just hope that maybe there will be more human enemies for Sanson to shine. Or maybe there will be a change on his noble phantasm. I don't know. Anyway, I wasted too much time on talking on Sanson. Let's go to the S rank change we got this 10th anniversary. I don't care. We got the animation update, and we got the strengthening of Matahari. Goddamn, hell yeah. Ooh. Damn, I'm so happy we actually got not only the animation update, but a strengthening, and goddamn, what a strength. So let me try not to waste too much time on it. Let me show you how it worked, her old versions of the skill. If you guys don't remember, this was known as the useless skill, which gave 30% extra star drop for 3 turns. It's because her skills, all her skills, give super low count of hits. So she needed this to drop stars, and because she was an assassin. Usually assassin, one of the traits of assassin is dropping a lot of stars, but Mata Hari was a little bit different from this because not only her normals doesn't have many hit counts, she doesn't have a passive. It is a bit weird. I guess you could say now she has a passive that everyone has, that with bond 15 she gives 20, but this doesn't count, right? An actual passive with an actual effect, she just doesn't have it. So this was supposed to be like the effect of presence concealment. Every assassin has some degree of presence concealment, but Mata Hari doesn't have it, and this was the representation of her presence concealment, which was a skill with an underwhelming effect. And then of course there were the 2 skills that she was known, the charm by 60% and 20% defense down. And then the 3rd skill, which was because most of all the 1-star servant, they needed to unlock the 3rd skill. And this is the 3rd skill. You seal the skill for 1 turn, more 20% defense down, which was okay for what her premise was supposed to be. And because of her Noble Phantasm never got an upgrade as well. Her Noble Phantasm was just a charm, which mostly worked like the 2nd skill, but attack down and defense down for 1 turn. Of course, this increases with overcharge, but we mostly count on non-overcharge because you mostly use her Noble Phantasm as a starter to lower the attack for 20%, defense for 20%, and both for 1 turn only. A bit of an underwhelming Noble Phantasm, but it's kind of similar to the 2nd skill. The only advantage of the Noble Phantasm, by the way, is that it charms anything, any enemy. It doesn't really has limitations of gender, different from Mata Hari's skill, which charms only males. Along the time she got a buff. The buff first happened the 1st skill, which was not too long ago. It was amazing. Which was 50% crit damage for the party and 100% star drop for the party. This already made her really stronger, and as a 1-star unit, this buff alone made her shine way more than many servants that, for example, Gilgamesh Caster was being used to increase the star drop for some situations, but Mata Hari was having even better numbers than him. It was quite amazing, and of course, since I am one of those nutcases that was using Mata Hari for anything and everything, like not only for support but for damage dealing, that this was amazing for me. But still, I thought that she lacked a little bit, being realistic. Okay, so I wanted more buff, specific for her Noble Phantasm, because her Noble Phantasm I think is lacking a lot. And then she finally got this 10th anniversary, the Sweet Fragrance of Indulgence A. This skill does so much. It was even confusing to me in the beginning, because I was reading this, I couldn't understand, because here you can see cleanly, well explained, but on the website it was faster to. But let's go through all the changes and what this brings, what this changes for Mata Hari. Before, again, it was just a charm male for a 60% chance of charming males and 20% defense down. Now she gives a debuff, decreases the charm debuff resistance for 1 time for 3 turns. So for doing those 3 turns, if you use a charm, it's gonna have a 60% more chances to charm. Her charm chance, both from the skill and the Noble Phantasm, didn't change. So effectively you can consider that her charm now has 60% more chance of hitting. So 120% chance of charming. A 1-star servant have 100% chance of charming a whole group of enemies. This is insane. This was a thing reserved mostly for 5-star servants. But now, and of course, some people might be confused because versus males, this part of the skill doesn't even show because you debuff with this, but the charge is instantly used charm male part, right? That's just how it works. But if the enemies that you are fighting, they are not males, it can be anything. It can be females, Clay, Astolfo, Roma, China, anyway, you know, other genders in the game, because it's funny that there are other genders in the game. It's kind of funny. But okay, let's go with unidentified genders. All of them will, of course, the charm will fail, so the debuff will stay there. So you can charm with or the Noble Phantasm from Mata Hari, or with another servant's charm, which will have 60% more chances, more or less. This is already big because the 60% charming possibility from Mata Hari was unreliable. It was unreliable to the point that if you were not working with a servant that actually had a debuff or a buff debuffs chance, it was just not reliable. You wouldn't count on actual charming. You would count more on the defense down. That was mostly what people were using Mata Hari for, the defense down engine, and then after the crit damage up, not for the charm. The charm was just not at the bottom of the list, but not a priority because 60% is just not reliable. You can't trust that. And since I tend to use Mata Hari as damage dealer. By the way, Mata Hari it was not made to be a damage dealer. Let's be perfectly clear. I'm just a nutcase that used her as a damage dealer. She is not supposed to be a damage dealer. I just do that because I love her. But even them using her as damage dealer as a focus on my team, the charm being 60% was not reliable. Now it is. Now it just is. Now it's just a reliable tool. The charm now is just bad versus servants that have more than 30% debuff resistance, which is not many, or immune to charm, immune to mental debuffs, which is, there's nothing you can do about this. When is immune, is immune. Anyway, this is a part of the charm that changed from Mata Hari. So now Mata Hari is actually reliable on charming, which is big. So she has a stun that works basically. This changed a lot on how she plays. And the defense down. The defense down didn't change, still the same 20%. Now this is another big thing. 30% defense down while charmed. So this is like a debuff that stays there. And if the enemy is charmed, 30% defense down. When he's not charmed, the debuff still stays there, but inactive. So for 3 turns, the debuff stays on the enemy, inactive, but the moment he gets charmed, it activates. So, let me be straight. This skill alone can give 50% defense down. Together with the third skill, 20% down, it's only on single targets, okay? It's only single targets. But together with this, double cross, 20% defense down, those 2 skills alone can give a single target 70% defense down. And let's add, why not? The Noble Phantasm of Mata Hari, without overcharge, 20% defense down. So, Mata Hari alone can give 90% defense down. And if you guys don't know, the game has many caps. You can accumulate many buffs and debuffs. Like for example, you can increase the attack by 20, 50%, 100%, 200%. But there's always a cap. Like for attack up, I don't know exactly, but I know for card buffs, it's 500%. I think for critical damage, it should be around 500% as well, something like this. I don't remember. Don't trust my numbers. But the defense down, the cap for defense down is 100%. So Matahari alone, now it's able to almost reach the cap of defense down with consistent 90% defense down. Or if you just want to use the skills, 70%. This is amazing. This is like a big change on her gameplay alone. And even if you just want her to be a charm assistance, she's insane. She becomes so good. And there's of course one more point of her skill that I didn't talk about, which is the 30 star bomb. You know what's funny? In my opinion, if the skill was this, the skill was just this, and got 30% star bomb, it would be insane. It would be already really good. Because 30 stars, a skill that gives 30 stars for 1 star, is an amazing ability. Think like this. Mozart was considered for a long time one of the best 1-star servants after Arash. Specifically because he had this skill that gave 50 stars. He generated 50 stars. Of course, 30 to 50 stars is a gap, but still 30 stars is quite a lot. And on top of that, they added a consistent charm and even more defense, which is with this conditioning to the charm, but still even more defense now. This changed a lot of her gameplay. I can see a lot of people using her as a debuff engine because, I mean, even more because now for charm enemies, in some situations it's not even worth it to give a 50% more a card buff when you can give us a reliable 70% defense down, you know? She'll be used a little bit more. Which I have mixed feelings, honestly. I want to address these mixed feelings on another video. I don't want to go too deep into this. I think the video is already too big. I just wanted to bring this perspective is that, like, the whole point of that I would want to make this video, sorry if I extended too much, is the different natures of the 3 assassin buffs that were made. For example, I brought the Jack one. The Jack one is a good buff, but I think it's uncreative. It just increased the numbers. Jack becomes the performance of Jack. It just increased like from I don't know, from 100% to 110%. I don't know. Jack becomes better, sure, but does it change too much how she plays? Not really. In my opinion, not really. Maybe she can treat turn better in some 90++ nodes, or she can probably do a better 3-turn kill in some bosses or challenge quests. But in the end, it's just not. To me, it's just okay. You know, it's not bad, but it's not amazing. Sanson buff is insanely underwhelming. Sure, the NP charge and the NP damage up are interesting, but the double down on focusing on a human, I think it's what makes him underwhelming. Unless things change in the future, new mechanics show up, or something else changes on him, I think it will be kind of underwhelming no matter what. And it's kind of sad. I wish something would change about Sanson. And then there is the Matahari strengthening. This one, in my opinion, changed so much how she plays. Left and right, I've seen people saying how broken she is as a 1-star servant. Of course, how broken she is as a 1-star servant. There are limits of what a 1-star servant can and should be able to perform. So it's not like, oh my god, she's a better than 5-star servant. No, of course not. She's just an amazing unit as a 1-star. When you consider how good a servant is at a 1-star, you consider the cost of putting a 1-star servant in your team, right? So yeah, that's mostly what I wanted to bring. I'm happy that she's super strong, but I think I'll talk later what else I think about this. Anyway, but thanks so much for following this video. I think it won't get too many views, but hey, I hope it makes you have a different perspective if you didn't on those strengthenings. And of course, on the thumbnail I'll put a comparison between them and like I said, Jack, I think, was the second best of the assassins. Sanson was the weakest buff by a long shot. I think it was super underwhelming. And Matahari was one of the best buffs in the whole strengthening battery so far. We didn't see the... Okay, we didn't get the casters yet, so... Of course, it can change a lot. There are two 5-star casters, 1 2-star caster, and 3-star berserker. A lot of things can change, but so far Matahari is one of the best strengths we got on this battery yet, and I think this is amazing. Of course, the best one by far, no discussion, Ishtar. Ishtar card selection is just broken on a skill that is a 3-turn cooldown. Jesus, it's just like on a buster meta even. She's a buster servant and has a card selection, a 3-turn cooldown skill. Ishtar just become insane. She doesn't need BB Summer, she doesn't need Ciel or Olga. She just does card selection every time, everywhere. She doesn't care about anything. She'll probably be able to do 90++ with waves like one enemy. She'll be able to do just fine. She's insane. She's just insane. But anyway, I just want to talk about this. Sorry to go too many places. Thanks so much for watching. And join the live streams. I still don't have a fixed time, but hey, that's why you subscribe, ring the bell, you never lose notification. And if you want to ask me something or maybe request a video talking about the mechanics or make an animation, hey, leave on the comments. We might consider. I don't know. But have a good day. Thanks so much, and let's hope that the game gets better, because apparently they intend to keep this old golden goose spilling eggs. Let's see where it goes, right? And bye-bye. Have a good day. See you guys next time. Bye.